Hello everybody, my name is Lat Mackey and this is Sequence Break, episode 11, SuperMCGamer. This is a person I haven't met before, so this is really exciting. I don't want to say a stranger because I've been watching your stream forever, but please welcome SuperMCGamer. How you doing, MC?
I'm doing wonderful. No, yeah, I you know, when I was like, all right, who's this guy asking me to do a podcast? and I went and checked out your channel. I was like, I've seen his face. I know you've been around in places I've been, but I don't think we've ever interacted until like now and through the chat message. So I was happy to do it because like I like podcasts. Podcasts are fun.
Oh well, thanks for doing it, man. I appreciate it too. So I mean, thank you so much for doing that. I feel like we should have met at this point, but you know, that's the way That's the way. By the way, if you ever go to some of the bigger events, it's just the way it works. You walk by people all the time. You don't get a chance to say hi. It's just one of those things that happens, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so first, let's get into it. So is there an origin story behind your screen name that you were willing to share, if you will?
Yeah, no. So some people have. I used to play Minecraft a lot, so everybody's like, MC, Minecraft, easy. And I'm like, no. I was actually MC back in 2006. Me and my friend, my legal name is Matt, and I had a friend whose name was Cutter, and we wanted to do a web show together because 2006 was like peak iCarly, and I was like, we're gonna call it MC Gamer. Boom, easy. We did like a couple episodes of it when also we were children, so it didn't really do anything. It kind of was a sham. Yeah. But I kept being known as MC Gamer online, and then when I tried to register for YouTube, there was these kids who like made videos of them jumping on trampolines who already took MC Gamer, so I was Super MC Gamer, and I never changed. So now everybody knows me as MC. Everybody calls me MC. My husband upstairs, I'm MC to him. Like everybody calls me MC except for my mom. My mom is the only exception because right. She is, I think, the right there.
That is so crazy. Wow, even the husband. Okay, that there you go. That's that's how much you are MC. That's I totally dig it. Yeah. Okay, so when did you start playing video games? Like, tell us a little bit about when you first got. Like, what was the first game? A console? What's your story?
I actually read your question. I was like, oh, I know how I did this. So I actually have like too many answers. I think the first game I ever played was Super Mario World. We had a SNES in the household. But I think that on an advanced stage, my earliest gaming memory was actually playing Versus Super Mario Brothers. Do you know that arcade title?
Yeah, it looks like it looks like Super Mario 1, but
yeah, it's like a little bit harder. It has like some Lost World stages in it. And I think there was a VS Mario Brothers cabinet, like arcade thing at like either a grocery store, a pharmacy, somewhere where a member of my family went, and I would play that while waiting for either, I don't know, groceries to finish. But so like what I think I always say Mario World is my first game because that's one I can concretely remember. But I think BS Mario Brothers might have a step up on it, actually.
Oh my God, how crazy. So that's so funny. I mean, I know the automatic assumption is it's got to be something Zelda. So when did you first play? Do you remember your first experience with Zelda and that series of games?
Yeah. I've told this story on stream a few times because you know, when you're a streamer of one game series, everybody asks you the same question.
Right.
And you know how many times I've heard what how do you open the door? Why don't you try for us? God,
my God,
I'm sick of that. But the Zelda story goes, my sister had a Game Boy with Link's Awakening on it, but I was still too small probably to play video games for a while. But my sister had her Game Boy with Link's Awakening. I kept stealing it. To play Link's Awakening on it, to the point that for my next birthday, after my sister was yelling and screaming about me stealing her Game Boy so much, they got me a Game Boy Color.
Oh, look at that. Fancy.
with Link's Awakening DX. And so at that point, it was that was like my Zelda game. And so Link's Awakening with a side of Deluxe and Ocarina of Time shortly followed for Christmas.
Well, just to let you know, I'm actually kind of with you. I feel like DX is the definitive version. That's the one. If I'm going to play it, that's the one I actually choose to play. So, although I haven't played
that. I think that was my definitive version until the Switch version came out, and now I'm a huge fan of that. I think it's really good. So.
Awesome. Okay, so one of the things I found interesting, and I kind of knew this already on, but I noted I did some of the research, and you started streaming very early on, especially for those of us in the retro community and things like that. So I'm curious, when did you start, and how did you? What made you decide? Hey, let's try streaming something.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you two answers. Uh, if you want to even talk about MC Gamer, the web show, the one I talked about, where my name origin came from, we want to do something called MC Gamer Live, way back, way back. We never actually did it, but that was when I was first interested in like, I want to do a web show online because once again, iCarly
Right.
was the stuff, and so I wanted to be Carly, but I wasn't Carly. I'm still not Carly, and I'm glad I'm not Carly. But instead, I later started streaming. I think playing Minecraft and stuff with the co-star. I don't know if you know Coast Quest, the Minecraft series at all, but he's a really nice guy, and he was doing a live stream on livestream.com at the time, and I kind of joined in with that. And shortly after, around that period, I think was when we did the first Zeldathon.
Wow. Okay. So is Twitch even a thing at that point? Well, I'm trying to think when
No,
Twitch went live.
no.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Justin, I think, was still also in its infancy as well. So, yeah.
I wanted to be Carly. That's MC's way apparently of saying I wanted to kiss Freddy.
It's well known that my first crush as a kid was on Freddie Benson from iCarly.
Oh, that's so
And
awesome.
what do you know? I became the tech guy doing live streams, and I'm like, dang it, I just become Freddie Benson. Why are we talking about iCarly so much? Next subject.
No, we're gonna do a whole episode just on iCarly. I love this. This is fantastic.
I actually once because you know what happens at Discord late at night
Right.
between friends.
Mhm.
You go off the rails. And so one time I was like, what does Freddie from iCarly, does his streaming rig actually make sense? So I opened up an episode of iCarly and I looked at what he had, and for the most part, it's pretty all right. He had some buttons that did not nonsense, but I did notice like they're streaming at like 100 kilobit per second. So like the iCarly stream should not look as good as it does on TV.
Right.
I'm still talking about iCarly.
We're still going. We're not gonna stop now. Okay. So I was looking back at my history actually, because I think the first time I donated to a Zeldathon was 2015. But I love the biggest one of the reasons I want to talk to you is because of your charitable efforts and your work in the charity side of things. First of all, when did you first? Tell us, when was the first Zeldathon? But more importantly, when did you get started with charity, and why was that important to you?
So the story of Zeldathon, I'm sure some people who know me have heard plenty of times before, is I saw a group called the Speed Gamers, TSG. They were streaming on Ustream back in 2009, 2008. Desert Bus was also a thing, but I didn't really watch them yet. And I said, I want to do a stream for charity. It wasn't really like, I don't know if I was really passionate about charity at that point. I think I was just kind of like, I want to do this. It looks like fun, like getting your friends together and doing a big stream. And so I contacted my friend Zach and I said, over Christmas break, let's do a video game stream. He was like, what game should we play? The story is that I said Zelda because I really enjoy Legend of Zelda. And good choice. I mean, I could have said Donkey Kong because I also like Donkey Kong, but I don't know if it would have the same lasting appeal as Zeldathon has had. But so yeah, he came over. We did I think a little under 72 hours. I don't think we went the full 72 hours. I don't have the records. And we raised $300 for Child's Play charity at that time. And from there, we just kind of kept doing them every summer and winter, and they kept getting bigger and stuff. So it's been fun. Yeah. That was 2009, by the way. So that was really early.
Yeah. I'm curious, like what back then, like what did it take to put on a charity event? Like even, I'm just curious, what are some of those, like, how did you go about doing that even back then?
There was actually this nice little widget that you could put on your web zone called Chippin.
Nice.
And it was just a little button that it's essentially like the PayPal button that we have nowadays. And it even used PayPal. It was just like, put in a PayPal address you want to forward money to, and we'll keep track of how much money is put through the button. That's all it was. And so luckily things like Child's Play charity, they were on like the forefront of people raising online. So they said, hey, here's our PayPal email address. Just plug it into your Chippin plugin and you're good to go. And so that's why we did that. Some charities, even today, are reluctant to like get into online fundraising, like with gaming and stuff, with like Twitch, because they don't necessarily understand that that there's a thing when somebody calls up saying, give me your PayPal email address, it might not be like anything nefarious. It's probably for something cool, like Zeldathon
Yeah.
or another event, you know?
In like outside of gaming, had you done anything like charitable before you went down the road of Zeldathon?
I don't think so. No, not to my knowledge.
No.
You know, I think my family may have volunteered at a soup kitchen from time to time, but nothing that like I was like my choice or nothing that I distinctly remember. No, not really.
So the reason I ask is because I've worked in the nonprofit world now for about 15 years or so, and I continue to work in the nonprofit world. And the way that the Zeldathon is run nowadays, it does so many things right as far as accepting donations and the way it acts as a charitable or a event. And I wonder, did you have any help along the way to set some of these things up? Like, how did you get to where you are today with Zeldathon?
Oof, so that's a big question. But if we want to talk about like specifically the charity side of things, because a lot of people, you know, there's a lot of easy missteps you can make when you're setting up a charity stream. Mm-hmm. Like, remember when I said get that PayPal email address from the charity? Some people will like, here's my PayPal email address. I promise at the end of stream I'm going to donate to the charity. There's 1,000 things wrong with that. First of all, like the tax implications. Like you know, and so you know, early on we learned about you know contacting the charities, talking to them about what we do, and also you know making sure that you know when you ask a charity like, hey, we're going to fundraise for you, not just how do we get the money to you, but how do we talk about you? Like you know when we go to a charity like Direct Relief, who I work for now, you know we say you know, what are you currently raising for? And right now I can say the Puerto Rico earthquakes, Australia wildfires, and in the Philippines. And like that's where like, you know, natural disasters have hit. That's good information to have on hand when you are, you know, doing a charity fundraiser. We've had like things happen and Zeldathons happen, you know, it's like somewhere around like when a natural disaster happens. And one of the first questions we get in from people in the chat is, what is this charity doing to help this situation? And it's something that's really good to have on hand. So I think one of the biggest things we had to learn over time is not only being responsible with how the donations are handled, and being transparent with it, but also telling people what their money is going towards and how is that powerful, you know?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a big fan of Direct Relief, and especially what has been done over the last couple of years with so many events supporting what they do. But I love the fact that you educate us as well at the time, because I think that is so important. Like, we know what our money's going for when it's donated, and I, as a donor, I really appreciate it. I think that's wonderful. You know, it's like it's good to see the dollars being implemented. So
yeah.
So, okay, so let's bring it back a little bit more to Zeldathon. One of the things that's so much fun as a viewer to watch is it seems like everyone's having this great time playing Zelda games and things like that. What gave you the idea to start playing like every single Zelda game for a Zeldathon?
So early on, it wasn't play every Zelda game. It was just play Zelda for 72 hours, for 4 days, for 5 days. And eventually we invited a good friend of ours, Mossies. He's the owner of Zelda Dungeon. It's a website, you can look it up. It's about Zelda. And he's a big Zelda collector. And so he brought with him a big old crate full of all of his Zelda games, including the CDI game. And, and we played like every Zelda game we could I don't think we actually beat everyone during that marathon, but I started to be like, man, this guy's got every Zelda game. We got to try to do every Zelda game. And it took us a while to get into that because I see inside your chat right now, we have Vidya, Jamie. He's a team member of ours who is well known for helping out our Twilight Princess runs. Early on in Zeldathon, our Twilight Princess runs would sometimes take 24 hours, and that's a full day. Yeah, that's a full day. And he chopped that down to 11 hours, right. And so suddenly we can fit in like more games when we do that. So nowadays, we have 6 days, and we can not only beat every Zelda game, we still have like a day or so extra that we like. We do stupid stuff and like throw in like challenges, like we did Left 4 Dead with like Zelda dungeon mods. Like in Left 4 Dead for the last marathon, just because like we have some cool stuff that's like really nice. And we've also done the CDI games. A couple members of our team have been world record holders in the CDI games, so we have a very robust Zelda community, including the fringe, the spin-off, the sometimes neglected titles.
Absolutely. Vidya's saying, let him run. Let me run Twilight Princess again until I do it under 9 hours.
Yeah, he would absolutely.
Well, and I think that's it's great to see games that, first of all, are rarely ever seen on Twitch, and that's one of the things I love about it as well. Because at any given point, Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, which is my favorite game of all time. There's a bustling community around that. There's always time you could watch Ocarina of Time, but some of the other games, like the CDI games, like you mentioned, some of the Game Boy games don't get the kind of love that
Oracle games are so good; they don't get the love they deserve.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So you how many Zeldathons have you had at this point, and what's like the grand total of money that you've raised through Zeldathon at this point?
So we've run 25 of our main marathons now. That our 10-year anniversary was this last winter, and we hit $2.6 million during that marathon, which I'm super amazed by. We've been kind of spinning it off from there as well. Like we've been now doing we did our first live event at a convention last year called Piece of Heart. We want to do more Piece of Heart events throughout the year, just like as a way to let the community come and see the Zeldathon community and like the team and do something live. And also this summer we're doing Parallel Worlds is what it's called.
Okay.
And Parallel Worlds is the entire Zeldathon team for the entire 6 days playing games, raising money for charity, except we're taking the Zelda out and we're putting every other video game that's ever been made in. So we're calling it Parallel Worlds, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And people have been wanting something like that for a long time.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I've noticed one of the things that, you mentioned you work for Direct Relief, but you don't, Zeldathon doesn't always choose them as their charity. How do you go about choosing some of the other charities that you support?
Yeah, no, and even though I work for Direct Relief, there is nothing in my contract that says you must raise Zeldathon for Direct Relief. You get this or that. No, it strictly is still my decision. I just like to raise for Direct Relief because I like Direct Relief. We raised for St. Jude, Charity Water, Help Hope Live, various different charities over the years. And a lot of it comes down to, like, a lot of people like to say, oh, look at Charity Navigator. It's a website online where you can view, like, kind of some transparency details about a charity. And sometimes people go to that and they see, oh, this charity has only a 90% efficiency, which means, 10% of their costs aren't going into program costs. It's like, oh, that must all be going to the CEOs. That must be a trash charity. Or they see a charity that's 3 stars, not 4 stars on charity. I'm going to say, oh, it must be a trash charity compared to a 4-star charity. And that's not necessarily the one-all be-all rating. I think early on that was like my thinking as well. But over time you learn, like, hey, these charity events cost money to run. The people who are employed at these charities, they're doing real work that is going to further drive up, how much money is coming in overall, and also how much they can do good in the world. So I think there's a lot of negativity around, like, things that aren't, like, strictly, like, when you donate to Direct Relief, 100% of the donation goes towards, the cause, goes towards people who need it. But, people at Direct Relief, I know all the staff there, like, they deserve to be paid a fair wage. They deserve to be paid this. And, luckily they're paid through a separate foundation, separate from donations. But, the same thing happens at things like St. Jude and their whole fundraising teams and marketing teams. It costs money to run. And there's a reason why St. Jude, everybody knows the name St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and what they do. It's because they put in the money and the time to make it happen. So I think when people choose a charity, it's not only about choosing a cause that's relevant to your community, choosing a cause that's, like, worldwide in appeal, and not only one that's efficient, but also one that's just, you need to look beyond just like a Charity Navigator rating to find, what's a good charity, I think. And I think that and before times I may have misled people on, like, vlogs or podcasts where I say, check Charity Navigator, boom, you're done. And I think it's more in that now that I've, spent some more time in the nonprofit world.
Oh, MC, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because while Charity Navigator is a good place to start, especially if you've never done any sort of charitable giving before, but more importantly, as I've gotten older and, one of the things, like, I want professionals managing the nonprofit. Like, if I'm going to donate, I want to know that the money's handled responsibly. And those people, they need to be paid. They have to pay rent just like the rest of us. They have to eat, things like that. You want this stuff handled responsibly. And I'm really glad that you mentioned something like that, because it's, we in the nonprofit world don't do a good job of educating people about it. But then secondly, it's tough to wait. You're telling me like 15 cents of my dollar is going to go towards paying staff? Well, yes, and to run an event and to to make sure that things are handled responsibly. So
yeah, I mean, so we have like St. Jude, the Play Live initiative, the gaming site has sponsored Zeldathon before and does pretty much almost every time we raise for St. Jude at this point. And some people are like, wait, there's money being given to Zeldathon from St. Jude, but I thought we're giving money to St. Jude. It's like, yes. But you know what that money enables to do? Enables us to have a venue, to buy food for our teammates so they're happy and not grumpy on the camera, to buy the cameras that you're using to see the people, to buy the microphones, to rent the U-Haul, to take the stuff and get it there. Without money to fuel the fundraiser, it's going to be a worse fundraiser, and it's not going to raise as much. That's just the cut and dry of it. And so it's always nice when we have charities who are willing to help out. And obviously you have to prove yourself. It's not like, hey, I'm going to raise $100. Can I have money to write? And it's like, no, but keep raising your $100. It's something that steps over time.
Absolutely. And some charities are fortunate enough to have endowments where they can separate donor dollars going and things like that. But not everyone is so lucky, or not every organization is so lucky. So, it's important that you really look how the donor dollars or how effective they are at the cause that they're choosing. And it sounds like that's the process you go through nowadays when you choose to support when Zeldathon chooses a charity.
Yeah, awesome. Very much so.
Okay, so you've since in the past 2 years, so I've listened to you on some other podcasts, most recently the Warp World podcast, and you've talked about how you personally are supporting some of these other marathons, these charity marathons. Which ones are those, and how did you get involved doing some of that stuff?
So at least through Direct Relief, we've had the opportunity to work with Calithon. Most recently, we've worked with Polkathon. Obviously, we put on the Coliseum events, the Mario Masters and Runaway Guys Coliseum events. And anybody like the Speed Gamers, who I originally mentioned, were the inspiration for Zeldathon. They race for Direct Relief from time to time, and I've had the pleasure of, I got to go down to Texas to where they run their events, and I got to meet the crew that originally inspired me. And what do you know? They're just a bunch of nerds in a house playing games. At the end of the day, that's what we all are for the most part. It's just been very nice. Through Direct Relief and other charity events, and going out to conventions, I've met different crews that say we do stuff for charity, and it's like, hey, if you want to stop by sometime, I'm like, I kind of I have an addiction to charity marathons where I'm like, I'll stop by, and then I'll come home and be like, I don't want to travel again for a month, and then they'll be like, hey, there's another charity event next month, and I'm like, oh, unless
I have room available.
And it's so much fun because there's so many different crews, and how they approach things is very different. I like going out to GDQ. GDQ's raised for Direct Relief through the Tiltify Charity Plaza during TwitchCon the one year. That was super nice. I got the pleasure of meeting a bunch of GDQ staff, and they're so professional. They're so amazing. I've gone to work with them to, in fact, help Zeldathon's tech be better. I'm good friends with Test Runner, who does a lot of their tech operations there. And GDQ does things a lot different than we do at Coliseum, where it's we still are inviting a lot of speedrunners at Mario Masters, but we do things a little bit more goofy, a little bit more loosey-goosey. And then you have Zeldathon, which is full balls to the walls, goofy, loosey. We have some serious moments, but there's a whole range and a whole gamut, and I like to poke and prod at different ones because I think every one of them has something to add to the overall charity marathon culture. I don't know.
No, that's cool. I mean, that's one of the things that I love about the events that I've heard you be associated with is they're all unique. They all have their own vibe to them. And I attended Calithon and huge fan of what they've been doing for charity and things like that. But that's a whole different kit and caboodle than volunteering for Games Done Quick. It's two different, but they're still trying to raise money. They're still trying to do a charity marathon and try to do some good in the world. It's pretty cool.
They're both speedrunning marathons.
They're both speedrunning. Yeah, exactly.
And every marathon has different vibes. Polkathon is a sister marathon to Zeldathon, and so to speak, where one of our team members who's at Zeldathon runs Polkathon, and they've recently been trying out some new stuff where they kind of taken more ideas from the Coliseum format, where they invite out personalities, and that really worked for them. And in the past they were more Zeldathon where it's friends of friends running the operation, and I think that over time they're going to meld some things together a little bit more, and it's going to become its own thing. And I think that's good. I think that people taking ideas from each other has always been the idea of charity overall. I think that the idea of a fundraiser gala, or at Direct Relief we have a wine auction. Right. I'm not here to run a wine auction. No. I don't know how to do that. But I can think about, wait a minute, how much money these people pay for this wine to benefit the charity? Would they do the same thing for a Nintendo World Championships NES cartridge signed by the winner or something? I don't know.
Absolutely. Yes, we will.
Yeah, exactly. We can take that idea and meld it in, and I think that there's a lot to be said about that.
You mentioned like how each these marathons are developing their own personality, their own voice. One of the things I love about Zeldathon is all of the goofiness that happens in between the gameplay and the games that you play on stream and all that kind of stuff. What kind of planning goes into this nowadays? Because there's never a dull moment during Zeldathon.
No, I mean, so obviously, yeah, we try to plan that a lot. Like, at least for Zeldathon, we plan out like events to run every like 3 or 4 hours that like, or it's like mark things that a team member will work on before the event to like, make it a big thing. Like, we'll do a mock game of Deal or No Deal as an example. Which, by the way, was amazing. Our team member Valor, he won Deal or No Deal and won $1,000 for the charity.
Hey yo!
And people were like, "It's rigged," and I'm like, "No, it really wasn't rigged." I asked everybody because I thought it was rigged when I watched it because I was just there a spectator. And I was like, and I went up to the guys who ran. I'm like, "So that was rigged, right?" So I don't like when we rig stuff at Zelda. I'm like, "No, it wasn't rigged. He actually won Deal or No Deal," and I was like, "Wow." But beyond that, we our latest marathon, we did something called the Goal Wheel envelopes. For a long time at Zeldathon, we've had something called the Goal Wheel, where if you donate a certain amount of money, we spin the wheel and something shows up on it. Before it was a physical wheel, then it became a digital wheel. And it would say like, couch dance party, like play a song, everybody on the couch has to dance along, fun stuff, goofy. But this time, like, we want to amp it up because we see the same goals on the wheel so many times. So we made 1,000 goals, 1,000 little funny things to do, and we put them in envelopes numbered 1 to 1,000. And then the actual wheel, will spin a number 1 to 1,000, and we open up the envelope and we do it. Like, there was one that wasn't opened this last marathon. We only went through like 400 of the 1,000. That I'm sad wasn't there. It said, so the person who was on couch, they like, all right, we got number 484, whatever. They pick it out, and it'll read it. Your name is now Nancy. For the rest of the marathon, everyone must call you Nancy. If someone does not call you Nancy, they become Nancy.
No.
And so that one didn't get read. I'm very sad because I wanted it to come up. But we've had a lot of funny ones. Like there was one that was just read, look really angry, or do not read out loud. Get really angry and throw this goal away. So the person opened up and went, they threw it in the garbage can, and everybody's like, "Oh no, what was that goal? Why didn't they want to do it?" And it's little things like that add to, like, we're playing all the Zelda games. We've played them, for 10 years now. Yeah. Let's add a little funny spice onto the mix,
Well, that's what I love about it is that I've only watched since 2015, but it always seems fresh every time I watch, and it's mostly because of the silliness that the game shows and all those things that happen in between. It's the action, the gameplay. Okay.
Yeah, very much so.
So before we move on, I'd be remiss to ask. Obviously, you enjoy the Zelda games and many other games as well. Just watch your stream for a few minutes. You've recently been playing board games on stream, which I think is awesome too, by the way. But if Breath of the Wild is to be released, Breath of the Wild 2 is to be released this year, what would you like to see in a Breath of the Wild 2 game?
Okay, so in a Breath of the Wild sequel, I would say I want to see. So a lot of people have said, I want the story to not be about the past. I want it to be about the current, because the original Breath of the Wild was like, flashback stories and like bad story. And I'm like, it's a fine story. Stop being grumpy. But I'd like to see a current story too. I want to see more traditional dungeons, or rather, I think that I think if people took all the shrines in Breath of the Wild and instead you cut them into like 5, like split it up, 120 divided by 5, whatever that is, 24. So take 24 shrines, stitch them rooms together, boom, you have a dungeon. Everybody would have been fine. Everybody was mad about the game because the dungeons were cut up and sliced around the world. I think we should have that plus full-size dungeons. I think that'd be good.
I kind of tend to agree with you. I think some, full size. I mean, how can you not complain? That's like there's a lot of great things about the game, but you're right. That was one of those things that I'd also like weapons that maybe don't break as quickly, but like something not quickly, but the Master Sword
repair system.
Yeah, there we go. Repair system, perfect.
And I agree. I like the weapons breaking frequently. I think that it encourages you to look around, find new weapons, explore, try out new ones. Like there was plenty of times that I loved in Breath of the Wild where it's like, okay, well, my Royal Claymore broke, the thing I wanted to use, and now what do I have left? Giant boomerang. I've never done this, and it's like, all right, let's give it a twirl, and I take out like 2 bokoblins with it. And I'm like, giant boomerang's my new girlfriend. I love her, and you know, a relationship ended with Royal Claymore. You know, and
I was 30 hours in before I realized that you could boomerang stuff and you had to press a button to catch it. I just thought you could only throw it. Whole thing anyway.
You thought Link was just really bad at boomerang.
Yeah, like what the hell? Why can't he catch the damn boomerang? But anyway.
No, and I would love to play more Breath of the Wild with I like the breakable weapons, but having a repair system, a little anvil inside town so you can clang, clang, clang. That'd be nice, you know. But I think it'd be a fun balancing act where, like, you know, your weapon's really weak and you know it's weak, so you stop using it, because if you keep using it, it'll break and then you can't repair it. It is completely gone.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the alternative is, do you break your weapon and then just, you know, pick up a new one, or do you really love your Royal Claymore enough to let it fit in an inventory slot, a very precious inventory slot, until you have time to go get it repaired?
Oh, that's an interesting idea too. You mentioned it earlier, but you said you actually really enjoyed the Link's Awakening remake, and it's your awakening of choice nowadays. What do you like about the game? What's great about it? I haven't played it yet. Just listening.
Yeah, no. Even though I you know, Link's Awakening was my first game, Link's Awakening Deluxe was my second. And I have a lot of nostalgia for them. I think that, you know, the changes made in Link's Awakening for Switch, there's a lot of like tiny little quality of life tweaks, and yeah, there's some frame rate issues. There's some weird visual stuff that some people are like, I'm not a huge fan of how that looks, like too much of the tilt shift effect thing going on. That's fine. To each their own. But for me, it's the most approachable. It's the most easy to play. It's, you know, on my Switch, ready to go, and it's the full game. Like, it's not like is it missing anything? It's missing the photographs with the mouse guy who takes photos of you.
Oh, geez.
Missing the Photoshop. Yeah. So as long as you aren't like missing the Photoshop, and you still want to, you know, have everything else, you get the full game. You get it in a nice package. It looks good, and it fixes some of the more troubling things. You have more buttons to put items on. It's so useful. Like, it's the same reason why I know some people hate Majora's Mask 3D. They're like, some of the changes made in that are questionable, and I think they are questionable changes. But there's enough quality of life fixes, including the gyroscope aiming, that I will totally overlook some of the slights they did to the game and to the bosses specifically, because I want the gyroscope, and I want, you know, to be able to skip forward in time where I want to. I think that there's enough quality of life changes that make it better, that the worst stuff doesn't drag it down all the way, you know.
Couldn't agree with you more. You mentioned it also too. One of the things, I'm a recent Switch owner. I've only had mine for about 6 months. It is my go-to because of how convenient it is. It becomes my go-to choice for like everything. You can play it anywhere.
Yeah,
they really kind of nailed it with the Switch.
I've been playing Mega Man lately, because I've never beaten a single Mega Man game until last year. So I beat Mega Man 1, Mega Man 2, and I'm on 3 now. I'm really slow at beating games off stream, so I love Mega Man, like, as a character, as a design, as a game. I just suck at Mega Man. So.
Well, congrats at GG. Yeah, no, you got one up on me. The only one I've ever beaten is 2. The Mega Man kicks my butt. I wish I was better at it. Like, watching speedruns of it is just insane how good the people are at that game.
Now, I don't want to be too much of a cheater, but there is a rewind feature on the Switch version, which I have used on some cheap bosses. I have no shame in saying that, because my time is precious. I'm not going to sit here and walk through that entire whole boring stage with the little platforms again, you know.
Well, the only people who are going to hear this are me and the millions of listeners. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, I did, just kidding. Okay, so the first time that as soon as I became affiliated, the first thing I did was run my own charity. We raised money for the St. Baldrick's Foundation, which, disclaimer, I worked there at the time, but I really wanted to support a good cause. And like, the first thing I could do with accept money, I was like, I did a charity one, but I didn't. Even after watching you and watching Games Done Quick, I just thought, well, the easiest way to do this is I'll have people donate to the stream, and then I'll make a donation to St. Baldrick's, and it was publicly available, so people knew exactly how much money. It did not feel like a good way to go about things. If an individual wants to do their own charity stream or their own charity type thing, what would you recommend? What are some of the steps or the path that people can go down?
Well, I mean, like, there's a lot you can get into. Like, you know, at Zeldathon, we have our own donation platform. We have our own donation site. We make and support our own software to run Zeldathon.
Oh, wow.
But not everybody, you know, for a first time streamer, like you saying, I just got affiliated. It'd be nice to do a charity stream as a celebration or as a first thing we do. You know, you don't have time to code an entire donation button, or, so I always recommend Tiltify. Tiltify is a great service. There's also Donor Drive, which now has more charities working with them. These are platforms that just have charities built into them. Charities work with them, so that way all the money is going right to the charity, and it gives you usually a nice page with your total on it. You can set some goals up in it, or you can do them on your own stream, for Coliseum, for example. We use Tiltify to raise all our funds, and even though Tiltify has these wonderful built-in goal and milestone features, we don't use them. We just put them up on the stream in our own text because it works just as fine for us. People can see them. It's still transparent. So, do it your own way. But the biggest thing is use a service like Tiltify or Donor Drive to make sure your money is going directly where it counts, and you have a page that gives you full transparency in that. And also, Tiltify has options for things like letting the charity contact the donors after the event.
Oh, cool.
So if people have opted into that, me at Direct Relief, I want to say, hey, everybody who donated to Mario Masters Coliseum, I'm going to send you an email saying thank you for donating. This is what your money is going towards. Here's some upcoming gaming events that we're running. It's a great way for us to keep engaged with that. And so I think that when people use official services, there's small events or small benefits like that people don't know about.
I ran the charity, the drive for I think it was almost a month, and I noticed that the donations increased when I set a goal with it. Like we knew we were going somewhere. And are there any other things like that you might recommend for somebody who's trying to do this for their first time?
Yeah, no, keep it reasonable. Gauge yourself well when you're setting goals, because I've seen people start their first charity stream on a couple viewers and say $2,500 goal. I'll do the Samba, and I'm like, nobody's gonna donate for a Samba that far away.
Right.
Set yourself up $50. $50 we do the Samba, and yes, you might be thinking, well, that's a low price for me to do a Samba, but it's not about the Samba. It's about hitting the $50.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get that momentum, you can start pushing towards 100. 250, 500, 1,000. At Zeldathon, even though we can raise upwards of $1,000, $2,000 an hour average, we still set goals like usually $250 away when we're going through a slow time, a time of donations, because that much little boost will keep things flowing. Because if you don't have a goal set for anywhere in the future, we've seen it at Zeldathon, it's there's not even a $250 in the future goal, people just won't donate. And so it's would you rather take at Zeldathon that less than average $250, or would you rather take the nobody's pushing for donations $50, where you get some people come in and throwing a couple bucks in, that's beneficial. But if you put that goal in, keep it reasonable, and care less about what it is and more about that you have it in, that gets you things flowing, I think.
I think those are some great recommendations. And I was trying to think. I think the biggest donation I got was only $50, but it happened once I set the goal. We raised $500, and it was a very reasonable amount. I only streamed to 10 or 11 people. I have a very small average, which is perfect for people if you know that they're willing to give in to support the cause. So. Okay, so let's say I'm ready to I'm thinking a little bit bigger. Maybe I want to do a 24-hour stream. I maybe want to have some people join me. What are some suggestions or recommendations about expanding or maybe doing a marathon type thing?
You've already nailed one thing. You said, I'm thinking about doing a 24-hour stream with a few people.
Yeah.
Yes, a few people. I've always said it, it's one of our number one recommendations. If you're doing anything beyond a 12-hour stream, get people. You might be able to think, I can do a 48-hour stream. I've done it before. Sure, but do you want your stream to suck after 24 hours when you're dead tired? There's some pro streamers out there that are
crazy
24 hours in that Dr. Lupo did his big stream, and he was just as hype after 24 hours as he was at the beginning. But not everybody's like that. I couldn't do that. I did a 20-hour stream of Mario Sunshine 100% once. 18 hours in, I was a Fruit Loop. Nobody'd want to watch that, man. I was out there. I was saying inane things, and I wouldn't donate to that stream if I was me. But so get people involved, have a support staff. Let yourself take naps. That's why at the Coliseum events we do 12-hour streams every day, and we do for 4 days. We instead of doing a straight 48-hour stream, which we could do, be there at the house less, whatever. It's more beneficial for everybody who's there and performing and being, a part of the broadcast to do 12 hours on, 12 hours off. And I think that's way more beneficial to, and I think there's been people doing like, I forget who did it, but I think number one, Alex was one of them who did a 12-hour, like a 7-day stream with another streamer and did 12 hours of them. Then the other person's stream started. Did the next 12 hours, and they traded off over 7 days. 2 people, but they each were only doing 12 hours at a time, which I think is very important and healthy. It's more healthy than trying to do, a 48-hour stream.
That's man, such a good recommendation and good advice that you don't have to do these things alone, and you shouldn't because you can't. We as humans, unless you're superhuman, which there are a couple people on Twitch who do some crazy. I've seen a 45-hour stream before. Like people do some crazy things, but you don't
recommended.
Need to. Yeah,
good. Yeah.
So cool. Okay, so. You've mentioned Zeldathon, where you've 10 years of Zeldathon at this point. What keeps you going, and what is exciting you about the next 10 years if it's going to be of Zeldathon?
Yeah, no, I think that a lot of it is what keeps me excited is that we're still finding new ways to better ourselves, to become a better marathon and be a better team and better company, if you will, as well, because we're technically a company, we're an LLC, and we're trying new things out, like we're doing, like I said, the Parallel Worlds event, because we play every Zelda game every 6 months. After a while, people are like, we play other games, and it's like, yeah, and we want an opportunity to show that off, and instead of doing a mini marathon like we did in the past, we did something called Anything Other Than Zeldathon. People love that, but let's do a full 6-day event, and shaking it up and adding things in like that, and doing Piece of Heart where we're going out to different places. I think that's exciting people. We're getting more guests involved. Like in the before days, people thought Zeldathon was just like casual central, and it is kind of casual central. But we invite Gymnast86 over. He's the 3D Zelda champion of the world. We have Romp Scout coming out playing both Oracle games at the same time with one controller.
Nice.
We're bringing in the heavy hitters at times, and I think that's really really fun that we get to do that. And that makes me excited, and I want to just continue getting better and being better, I think, overall.
I'm surprised that you ever find time to stream, considering all these other things that you do.
Correct.
If I was, if I'm not familiar with your channel, what kind of things do you stream, and what do you enjoy streaming when you're outside of all the charity stuff and outside of Zeldathon?
Yeah, no. I mean, luckily with Zeldathon, we've been working more to get committees started to like help run the event. So nice. I can be there as a guiding force, but I'm not there, doing everything. And then with Direct Relief, also running the operations. Campy DK, he's an amazing guy, and he's so smart, and he's come up with the idea for the non-Zelda Zeldathon. He came up with the idea for the Coliseum events. I'm the guy with the gear and the copy of OBS that can run it, but he's a lot of the brains. So having powerful people help me allow me to stream. And what do I stream? I stream. Lately, it's been whatever I've been feeling like. Like I've been doing some Mario a little bit. I've been throwing in. I've been doing a Majora's Mask ROM hack recently, Master Quest. So it's like the dungeons are changed. Been having some fun with that. City Skylines. I've been building Lego.
I saw this.
I'm halfway through this X-wing.
Look at that. That's awesome.
So we'll finish this one day here on stream. But I've been doing some goofy stuff, and I'm sorry, I totally whacked the microphone with the X-wing.
Totally fine. That's awesome. I'd be, never mind. I was going to ask, we meant to ask, do you ever have like a goal in mind when you set out to do a Zeldathon, like a certain amount of money you want to raise or anything like that?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. That's a good question, because obviously, in our heads, it's like we want to raise more than the last Zeldathon. Right. is an easy thing to say, but it's not always reasonable. So we set reasonable expectations on ourselves. Like $150,000 for Zeldathon nowadays is not an unreasonable goal. It's a thing that we can almost guarantee to hit at this point. But it really is on the donors and on the people who watch the stream too. They're feeling generous that day. So I think a Zeldathon could raise 100,000, 150,000. It could raise 200, 250K. We don't really know until we start. And, as long as we're doing our job about being entertaining, putting on a good production, and just showing up and advertising correctly, that's all we can do. It's on the people who have their pocketbooks at home that might want to open them up for charity. That's all it can be, you know?
So if people want to watch, where can they find Zeldathon and or your stream? Where would you send them?
You can go to Zeldathon.net for everything Zeldathon. We have a Twitter account, Instagram. I don't understand Instagram, but the social media team is beginning in Instagram. So I'm an old man, apparently. We have a YouTube channel, all Zeldathon. You can look them up there. But we also recently released the Zeldathon documentary called Money Making Game. You can find that at doc.zeldathon.net. And I'm just SuperMCGamer everywhere. So look me up.
Can't wait to dig into the documentary. I've really been wanting to watch it, and I haven't had some time yet, so I'm super excited that it's available now, and that it's
it's good. It's good.
It's good. Okay, I can't wait. Well, thank you so much, MC, for joining us and giving us some insight on Zeldathon and everything charitable, streaming, and all that kind of stuff. Thank you so much for doing this. I really do appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I like doing podcasts. It's fun to talk about myself for an hour.
Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. If you're enjoying the podcast, please feel free to share it with family, friends, and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. All of those go a really long way to helping out the podcast. Thank you so much. Have a good one.